Welcome to Carson Middle School Spring 2016 Non-Writing SOL Test Training. We're going to go through the important training topics that we need to make sure that we administer the SOLs here without any irregularities and in the best interests of all of our students. You will be asked to pause this presentation at a couple different times and go back to your Google form where you can record your reflections on different aspects of giving these tests. Everyone will need to come to B127 on May 10th to sign the security test agreement. Even if you are watching this on your own or if you're choosing to come to the face-to-face, everyone will need to come and sign that agreement. It ensures that we are not going to discuss the test items or any scores with other teachers, with people outside the building, with our students. It also reminds us to stay with the script so that we do not cause any irregularities, and it touches on the electronic device policy, which we will go into much more depth later on in the training. If your room is being used as a testing location, we do ask that you remove or cover all your curricular materials by May 16th, and please also make sure that the student workspaces are clear of any materials. There are quite a few tests that we will be giving during that 2-week window of May 23rd through June 3rd, and then the makeups will be the following week. Each test is slightly different, and each test has its own administration manual that we will have copies of on the server, and we will give you copies of in your testing bins the day of. When you see which tests you're proctoring, we would like you to preview those manuals on the server and be prepared before the morning of. Then you will get a paper copy the morning of. Here's what our calendar looks like now. So you can see that the week of May 16th, the window opens. We are actually testing kids that week. We have some special circumstance kids that will be starting. The laptops and netbooks will need to be ready to go by close of business on Tuesday the 17th so that Mike and Patricia can gather those and relocate them where they need to go. And then we'll spend the next 3 days setting up that equipment and testing it. Our first test will be on the 23rd. That week, those are fairly large tests. Every single 7th grader or every single 8th grader will be participating in some aspect of those tests. The following week, we will have our math tests, which will be slightly smaller groups, but still all hands on deck. What you will need for testing is your examiner manual. Again, we will give you just the pages that you need in your testing bins. In those bins, you'll also get your test tickets. We are still going to color code those test tickets, so each day will have a different color. And the audio tickets will still continue to be printed on red paper. The feedback from that was really good from the writing portion. We will give you the approved manipulatives that you need. Every single test is allowed scratch paper, and you should pass that out on every single test. And then other tests will have more specific directions in terms especially of formula sheets and calculators and things like that. You'll get your student roster. You will get headphones if kids have the audio accommodation. And you might also have some kids that get a dictionary of some sort or graphic organizers. Again, those would be noted on your rosters if you have anything special like that. In terms of tools and manipulatives, this is really important to why we need to be practicing with our students so that they can see the different digital tools that they will have on the different toolbars. And there is a list of all of those tools in each examiner manual. Some specific manipulatives, the formula sheet, these are for all the math tests. The kids can access a digital version of it within the monitor, but you will also be able to give them a paper copy of those formula sheets. The periodic table is only in the online test, and they can be allowed a highlighter or a colored pencil, but only one color. And we will not be giving you those, but if kids want to bring them in, they are allowed to bring one color. Again, there is scratch paper on all the tests. Please distribute that. It is in the directions. We are supposed to give it out. If they choose not to use it, that is their choice, but every student should have one. The ruler and the compass, these are online, and they must use that online tool. So again, if you are a math teacher, please make sure that your kids are practicing using those online tools. The paper pencil tests, we do have a couple of those, they must use handheld. In calculators, our kids that take grades 7 and 8 math will use the 4-function calculator, and then also in grade 8 science, that is the 4-function calculator. A little different in grade 8 science, there is one also online that they can access. And then any of the end of course math SOLs, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, they will all use the approved graphing calculator. And again, those we will make sure to get you for the day of your test. Just real briefly, there is the Math 7 and Math 8 test is a CAT test. It stands for Computer Adaptive Tests. These are available for kids that need accommodations like plain English or audio. Basically, the test gears the questions towards the ability of the student based on each question. So if a student gets an answer correct, their next question would be at the same level of difficulty or a little harder. If they were to get one wrong, the next question would be possibly a little easier or again at that same level. What we've noticed is that there are fewer questions than the traditional SOL, and it targets, there's less guessing. The hard part with this is students may not skip questions. Basically, they cannot flag for review and they cannot go back. Now, those students in those classes have been practicing this all year. There are also practice tests on VDOE if you would like to continue to do that. And the parents have been notified of this at this time. I will tell all of you this though because the manual is different for those tests and the screens look a little different. For example, when students are working through the questions, they will have 2 samples and then they will start their non-calculator answers. Now, what some students said last year was that they never got question 9. Question 9 is actually where the students have a stop screen and they have to raise their hand, show the proctor, and then the proctor has them click in a box and move on. Then they may get the calculator and move on. But the way that it records is that records a question answer as number 9. So it may appear that they went from 8 to 10, but the stop sign counted. Again, there's lots of practice items for the CAT. VDOE has them online, and again, this is mostly for math teachers, but please make sure your students have visited that site and had an opportunity to practice. Okay. This year in civics, there will be technology enhanced items. Again, if you are proctoring this, your students have been practicing that with their civics teachers all year, and they're very much like the TI items that the kids have had in other subject areas for many years. These are still considered field test items, so they are not scored against the students. They're really just looking to see that the questions are operationally being developed in a good way. So on any test that has TEI items, they make up approximately 15% of that SOL test. They range from fill-in-the-blank answers to graphs where the graph may have to be created to answer the question. And then we have those hot spots where students would place items, if you will, or move items to answer the question. Now, while you're monitoring the test, please remember that you cannot give any hints or any review once the kids walk into the classroom. You need to make sure that there is no discussion of that content area or the test at any time. You may not give help or clues, and remember these are also nonverbal clues, winks or thumbs up or anything like that. Really, we need to stay to the script. Examiners cannot read test items, create answer keys, or any notes that might help the students. They also must monitor the students if they need to leave the testing room. This is for if the kids get sick or they need to go to the restroom. We'll go more in depth to this, but remember we ask you to put your blue recycling bin outside the door, and hall monitors will look for that bin. If it's been, 3 to 5 minutes and no one has come, please go ahead and feel free to email Holly and let her know what you need, and we will get someone to you. If you find a digital device in your classroom once the test has started, and we're going to talk about ways to, avoid this situation, you do need to let us know immediately. The student would click exit on their test, not submit, just exit, and then let Holly know, and we will make sure to follow all the correct protocol in terms of deciding what to do in that situation. If you would take a minute now and pause the video and reflect on question 1 in the Google form, that would be wonderful.